Hi, my name is Madan Nathu. I'm a program manager on the Microsoft Dynamics AX team, and I'm going to talk about how to set up organizations in this session. Before I get into the demo of the organization model and how to set up the organizations, I want to talk very briefly about the value proposition of the organization model and why did we introduce organization model in this release. International corporations can grow from within using organic growth, or through mergers and acquisitions. They might grow by targeting new markets, or they might establish new subsidiaries or acquire new legal entities in their own country or other countries. They might grow by targeting new customer market segments or vertical industry segments. The new segments they serve might require new products and services. Effectively measuring the performance of such a growing business can become a challenge. For corporations like this, the performance is usually measured based on dimensions of the business, such as business units, business divisions, lines of business, or product lines. Corporations can also be organized based on these dimensions or based on functions such as sales, marketing, product development, production, human resources, and accounting. In a mixed organization, services such as human resources and accounting are shared across business units. Corporations may need both internal and external reporting structures. Generally, a legal or statutory structure is used for legal, regulatory, or external reporting requirements of federal, state, or local government entities. An operating or managerial structure is used for internal profit and loss reporting and for measuring the performance of the organization. Non-profit, public sector, and governmental organizations also require an operating structure to create a statement of financial position. Most corporations go through an operating cycle of monitor, measure, analyze, and improve. The analyze phase results in new business rules and policies and new strategic and operational initiatives that are aimed at improving performance. This cycle of performance improvement also occurs at lowest levels of the organization, such as business units, divisions, departments, and cost centers. Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 introduces new types of organizations such as legal entities and operating units so that customers can model their business in the same way that they operate their businesses without needing to customize human uh, customize Microsoft Dynamics AX. It also supports unification of organization concepts across various application areas such as human resources, financials, and operations. The organization model in Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 also supports creating hierarchical structures that enable the cycle of performance improvement. Now that we have seen the value proposition of the organization model, I want to walk you through the setup and configuration of the organizations in Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012. So when you start the rich client, you will notice that I have, as a as a system administrator, I have access to everything. And I'm going to start by actually clicking on organization administration. So let me start from the beginning over here. So I'm going to start by clicking on Microsoft Dynamics AX12 client uh, and through the start menu, and the client is loading up over here. The first thing I will do is I'll click on organization administration, and I can also set it up through my favorite so that I will always have organization administration page open. Once I have the organization administration, I go to the setup, and within setup I click on organization, and that is where I can set up all different types of organizations. So now I can set up the legal entities, for example, by clicking on legal entities. So what is a legal entity? A legal entity is an organization with a registered or legislated legal structure that is granted the authority to enter into legal contracts and that is required to prepare statements that report on its performance. A legal entity and company in Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 are semantically the same. However, some functional areas in the application are still based on a data model using company or data area. These areas may have the same limitations as in Microsoft Dynamics AX 2009 and may have an implicit data security boundary. Now, here are the steps to create a legal entity. As I shown before, you click on Organization Administration, go to Setup, select Organization, and click on the menu item for legal entities. And this form will pop up And this is how you can actually set up a legal entity. You can see that you can specify the company logo, you can change the name if you're already given a name, and if you want to change the name of the legal entity, which is a very rare occurrence. You can also see if this particular hierarchy is if this particular legal entity is in a hierarchy. And of course, you can create a new legal entity or delete existing legal entity. Deleting is a very rare process. Is a very rare process, and it doesn't happen very often. So the only reason why you want to do actually delete of a legal entity is you made a mistake, or you are in a development or test environment where you want to actually create new legal entities, test out some scenarios, and then delete those legal entities. Now let me actually show you what are the things that you need to do to set up a legal entity. It's a fairly straightforward process. What you do is you click on new, and I'm going to create a new legal entity called test legal entity. And I have to give a company ID or a data area ID to go along with this. So I'm going to call this test TLE as the legal entity data area ID corresponding to this. Also note that I need to select a country region code, and this country region code is selected from this lookup. So I'm going to select that this legal entity is in USA. So you can see that now I have created actually a new legal entity. Those are the only three things that are required to create a new legal entity. Of course, if you want specific features that should be enabled for specific countries, then you need to give specific information and enter those fields. For example, in other places such as tax registration or tax to 1099, if there are if it is a US legal entity, and if you have tax 1099 requirements, then you need to fill out all these other fields that are required for those specific countries or for the specific features in those specific countries. So you can see that there are specific country-specific fields that may apply for a legal entity, which are in tax registration, tax 1099, statutory reporting, bank account information, and so on. Also, there are very generic kind of fields that apply to all legal entities across all countries, which are in bank account information, foreign trade and logistics, number sequences, and of course you need to fill out the address and contact information. Of course, none of these things are mandatory. The only things mandatory were the first three things that you saw in the beginning: giving a name, giving a data area ID or a company ID, and defining and doing a lookup on the country region codes to select a country region code. So once I do this, then I have completed a creation of the legal entity, and then it can be used on transactions. One of the other things to remember is that you can notice that there is a use for financial consolidation process or use for financial elimination process. These two flags help you to set a legal entity as a consolidation entity. In that case, no transactions can occur in this legal entity, but it can be used for as a consolidation entity to consolidate financial data and create financial statements based on that. And you can do the same thing for elimination process or for financial elimination, which is closely related with the consolidation process. If you have any kind of eliminations that need to or eliminate transactions such as due to or due from, which are created where there is a intercompany transaction between two legal entities of a parent company. So for those kind of scenarios, you may want to actually look at how to make use of the consolidation and elimination entity, and how do you make use of these flags to mark a company as a consolidation company or an elimination company. So I think once you are done this, you're done with the legal entity. Once you have done this, I think that the next step is to look at the operating units, which are also different type, which is a different type of organization that we introduced in this release. And there are different types of operating units that we introduced as part of Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 and what we are shipping out of the box. So what is an operating unit? An operating unit is an organization that divides the control of economic resources and operational processes among people who have a duty to maximize the use of scarce resources to improve processes and to account for their performance. Several types of operating units are available out of the box. A business unit is primarily an operating organization with a focus on industries or product lines that the organization is supposed to serve. There are different other types of operating units that we have introduced. For example, cost center, that is a cost accumulator, or that is used to manage cost or expenses or to track cost or expenses. A department is another type of operating unit that is primarily used for in human resource scenarios, and departments are also often created based on functional responsibility or skill, such as sales and marketing. A value stream is another type of operating unit commonly used in lean manufacturing. In lean manufacturing, a value stream owns one or more production flows that describe the activities and flows needed to supply a product, good, or service to the consumers of the product. Please note that these operating unit types were created to support application functionality in Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012. However, every industry and business has unique requirements for their operating units and may call them by different names, such as stores or stores in case of retail industry, or projects or branches in case of service industry or construction industry. So let's see how we create an operating unit. So you click on the operating unit menu item. You can see that the operating unit form will open. Now remember that this form is generic across all types of operating unit. What it means is it applies to any type of operating unit. So you can create a new type of operating unit by clicking on new, just like before on the legal entity. And then you can see that it will show you a lookup to select a type of operating unit that you're looking for. So I have actually created, I already have this out of the box operating unit types called department, cost center, value stream, and business unit. Please also note that I'm using a fleet management model that is available for download from MSDN Download Center. And it has 3 custom operating units that I have defined called branch, rental, location, region, which are applicable to that fleet management business scenario. Now I can select any of these and I can create a new type of operating units. So considering that I have a fleet management model over here, and assuming that you are familiar with the fleet management model, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new branch, a Bellevue branch for the fleet management model. If you are familiar with the fleet management model, what we do in the fleet management model is it's an ISV scenario that we want to model, and what we want to show is that the business scenario behind this ISV scenario is that you should be able to model branches and rental locations. This particular business, Fleet FM Inc., which is a legal entity, is actually in the business of actually renting vehicles of different types. And they have different rental locations and branches. And of course, they have reporting requirements based on these branches and rental locations, and data security requirements so that the branch manager can only see vehicles at their branch or rent out vehicles at their branch, and so on. Now let me actually create a new operating type called branch. So I'll create a new operating type called Bellevue. I'll create a new branch called Bellevue. And once I create this, again, just like legal entity, it's fairly simple. The only information that you need is name, and that's it. Actually, the branch number is generated automatically using number sequence. And once it is generated, you can decide to give address and contact information if you have address and contact information for the branch. Otherwise, you can just leave them blank, and then it is operational. So you can see that I have already created a branch now. So when I come back again, operating units, I'm going to see actually a branch of the type of the type a rental location called Bellevue. Actually, not a rental location, but a branch type of operating unit, and it is called Bellevue. So you can see now that this Bellevue branch has been created as an operating unit. So it's as simple as that. And you get the same functionality just like in the legal entity form. You have new, delete, change name. You can change the name of the operating unit. You can see this in hierarchy. You can notice that this particular branch was just created. So it is not available in the hierarchy, or it has not been inserted into the hierarchy. But if you look at some of the other things, you can see that Redmond is actually available in the hierarchy, and actually go to this hierarchy and how it is actually positioned within the hierarchy. I can see that. That will be demonstrated in a different how-to session for creating hierarchies. So once you have done that, you have all the operating units that you have created. You can also actually navigate to some of these different types of operating units from different other ways of actually accessing this data. So one of the other ways to access this data or manage this data is through general ledger. And you can see that there are some roles in financials that may also have access or privileges or permissions to manage this data. So for example, you can go into general ledger setup, and you can also see organization menu items over there. You can see legal entities, business unit, cost center, and departments. That also can be created by, for example, by a controller or a CFO. The same thing is true for human resources. If you go to human resources, you'll see an organization menu item, and you can see that within that there are departments, jobs, positions, and department is a type of operating unit that you can actually create. This is the same way that you created departments through the organization administration module. Another way to actually access the same data is through area page on the organization administration itself. So organization administration has common, and within common, if you click on organizations and internal organizations, you can access all internal organizations. For example, you can access all legal entities, operating units. Teams is also a special type of operating unit, which is more of an informal organization. And you can see that all these different types of operating units can be accessed from this list page. And this list page provides you a very comprehensive view of all the organizations that are defined within Microsoft Dynamics AX. And of course, you get all the capabilities of a list page, such as edit, and grid. You can see that you can do the same new. When you select new on internal organization, you can see all different types of organizations, not just operating unit, but also legal entity and team. The same thing is true for and the same thing all the benefits that you get from a list page, for example, refresh, export to Excel, attachments, all those benefits come with this list page. And of course, you can view this a particular organization in an organizational hierarchy and so on. You can also see a primary address for every selected organization in the list page. In this particular case, there is nothing has been defined. But if there is a primary address that is defined, then you will be able to see that in the fact box on the side over here in the list page. Also, of course, you also see below you can get some more details about the organization that you're looking for. Of course, and you can double click on an organization and open the corresponding page to create or manage that organization, and you can see that it opens the page only with that selected organization. So I think that's how really how you set up organizations in Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012, and how easy it is to actually set up and configure organizations and start making use of them on transactions. Thank you.